One of the many things I was not good at when I was a young man was crying. Graduation day this year is my 20th anniversary of being assigned to the Newman Apostolate in St. Louis. And I think I've cried more in the last 20 years than in any of the previous years of my whole life. I've cried at death. I've cried at sacrifices. I've cried at the awful conditions some of our sisters and brothers live in. I've cried with the music we sing here at Mass sometimes. I've cried for how beautiful you are and how lucky I am to see it. And because of the love I've witnessed and felt here over all these years, I've cried. And because of too many goodbyes. If anything over the years has told me that this is the right place for me to be, it has been the number of times that I've been moved to tears. The truth that here God has shared with me more often some of the power and some of the vulnerability of divine love. When do you cry? What moves you to tears? When do your eyes glisten with evidence that you too have been baptized into the mystery? Many things in our culture conspire to murder tears. Many of us are trained to think there's something wrong with weeping. That tears are unseemly, a sign of weakness. Be strong, we're told. Big boys don't cry. Mine was to bury my tears underneath analyzing things too much, rationalizing, getting stuck in my head a long way from my heart. In short, talking my way out of tears again and again. Maybe deep down, the fear that was that once I would start crying, I may never stop. It has been said rightly, the young man who cannot weep is a savage. The old man who cannot laugh is a fool. A savage. Mother Teresa defined sin as standing in the midst of suffering with dry eyes. And Jesus wept. In just those 3 words, the shortest sentence in the whole Bible, we meet the God who weeps. Why was he crying? Was it because his friend had died? Or was it just from seeing the grief of his dear, dear friends, Martha and Mary? Or was it maybe even bigger than that led him to tears that day? And Jesus wept. We all know in our head at least, that part of the process of grief is tears. That they're a sign that maybe everything is changing now. And that those tears can help us release and can help us unbind ourselves and be an expression of surrender. They are always born of separation. or at the very least, the anticipation of separation. Tears invite us to what is the most human and the most divine in us. If we do not cry, we risk not living. Because tears play a crucial role in the breaking open of our lives. They rescue us from the prison of power and control, the prison of power and control. They rescue us from the pretense and the image that we keep trying to hold up of ourselves in front of the world so that they see us like we want them to see us. That's shattered in a moment of tears. And in a moment of tears, our control is disabled. And that's why tears are crucial and become a gift. The gift of tears come to an awakened heart. The way of tears shows vulnerability, that you and I are able to be affected by the world, affected by other human beings. Tears are a movement away from our self-protection toward self-forgetfulness. Always. The way of tears can break us out of our own personal to this transpersonal. As though in that moment of tears I could experience somehow the sorrows of the whole world. The weeping of all humanity. Lacrimae res. The tears of things. The grief of the whole human tragedy is there in our tear. Tears live where words cannot go. It hurts to cry. It hurts worse if you don't. The way of tears unlocks the capacity for pure joy. St. Ephrem once wrote, "Until you have cried, you cannot know God." You see, our tears are precious to God. There is such a thing as holy tears. And weeping. Weeping is itself a kind of prayer. And as the psalmist reminds us, our tears are unable to be ignored by God. How about you? When was the last time you cried? Maybe you've cried, as I have, at the funeral of too many young victims or an old hero. At the sacrifices parents make for their kids or their kids for their parents. Or over the sacrifices so many make here to keep this place open for us tonight. Maybe we've cried for the awful conditions that some in our human family are forced to live in. Maybe you've cried with good music, or cried at how much we have loved each other, or haven't. Maybe you've cried, as I have, over my stubborn inability to fix all that is broken in our world. or in me, or at the hurt you've caused people you love very much. Ask the seniors here tonight about tears, or anyone really who ever left someone they have loved or something they've loved, or someone's over the years, to do the next thing life was asking of them, or the ones left behind in the doorways of their lives, waving goodbye. I hope with all my heart that the Catholic Student Center is a place that has taught you along the way how to cry. A place where you can come just to cry. You deserve that, you know. The Eucharist should be the supreme ritual of the way of tears. I've told you before of a young man of another faith a long time ago who came here almost every Sunday to this 9 p.m. Mass. It wasn't very crowded then, so he could sit apart back by the last window all by himself back there. And when I found out he was not Catholic, I asked him why he came. And he said, "Father, I come here to cry. For some reason, here, I cry." Here, our tingles, our tears are mingled with the tears of God. It's okay to cry here. There is something in the heart of God that we will never understand until we ourselves can weep. For when we care enough about someone or for someone that we would actually hurt for them, that love in our heart is not only what God is like, that love in our heart in that moment is God. There are so many religions in the world that could not stomach the notion that a God could weep. The Judeo-Christian tradition is not one of them. And Jesus wept. He wept with his own sadness at the death of a very dear friend. He wept over the heartache of Martha and Mary, whom he loved very much. He wept in solidarity with all humanity, the sorrow of the world. And he weeps with us. Holy, holy,